the mad bugger actually did it. I've been saying for so long how much I want to see Sutek come back. He did it. And not only did he do it, he did it in the coolest way possible. Okay. Sutek is back, and I'm so happy. Oh my god, that was incredible. Anyway, going chronologically, the Doctor arrives in Unit. He asks Unit, hey, this woman keeps showing up on my adventures. Can you track her down? They go, no need. They find this woman called Susan Triad, who's running a big tech company called S Triad Technologies. The anagram, of course, is TARDIS, and the first name of the woman is Susan TARDIS. So the Doctor logically thinks, okay, could this be Susan? Could this be my granddaughter? And we get a really nice scene, actually, where Kate says, why don't you go back and see her? You know, if you've got a granddaughter, why don't you? And the Doctor sort of goes, oh, well, I could never, you know, I could never break her. I would never want to break her. I'd never want to, you know, sort of tear her down because of how dangerous my life is. I loved that as an explanation for him not going back. But yes, so that's going on. And meanwhile, Ruby has finally gotten access to Unit, and therefore they can scan her VHS of the night she was born in order to figure out who on God's green earth Ruby's mum is. So they take the VHS down to a time window, which was apparently a piece of time travel technology that the Doctor forbade them from creating during the 70s, which they probably ignored and did anyway, which is very on brand for Unit, which basically allows you to visualize moments in time that that exist in the past, basically, and create a 3D space of them, a 3D virtual simulation of them. And it simulates the night Ruby was dropped off. Interestingly, you can't see the mother yet again, but you can make out this cloud emerging around the TARDIS, this black and red cloud. And this Unit soldier goes to investigate this black and red cloud and gets absorbed by it, and killed by it, and dissolved into sand. And this voice begins to bellow out. And meanwhile, Carla wants to head to Unit to help out, because she's heard that Donna is at Unit. She's like, well, if Rose's mum, because Rose is in this, is at Unit, I want to be at Unit too. So she decides then, I'm going to go to Unit. So she leaves her mum, Cherry, with Mrs. Flood. And Cherry quite characteristically says, I'd like a cup of tea. And she says, oh, we'd all like some nice things, darling, but we can't have them. And she goes, his wait is over. The wait is over, or he has come, or whatever she says. Basically acting as her own harbinger for Sutek. And we also, as I said, learn that one of the Unit members turns out to be someone who is a harbinger of Sutek, similarly to how that kid was a harbinger of the Maestro. So, all the while, Mel is at Triad Technologies tailing Susan Triad, and she keeps remembering the Doctor's adventures and dreaming about them, having nightmares about them, but she can't remember why. And it turns out that she is basically, like everyone else, it seems, a puppet of Sutek, who's been put there, and she doesn't even know how or why. And it culminates in this incredible reveal that's built up beautifully across the episode, where there's this long sort of speech going on that's being mimicked by all the people involved, going through all the gods. You know, it mentions Toymaker is the god of games, Maestro is the god of music, Trickster is the god of traps. So Trickster does get a name drop, so there's still hope for Trickster in season 2 for anyone who was hoping it'd be Trickster. And then, you know, the TARDIS gets surrounded, and it starts making that noise, and you know, an Egyptian dog of Sutek's emerges, and alongside it, Susan and the other Harbinger get all like zombified, and they're like, Sutek's time has come. And we start to see these sort of sand and clouds emerging as he's taking over, and they're like, oh, and Sutek's like, oh, did you think this was family, Doctor? Now I'm going to take down, you know, all of this universe. So it was basically deliberately made as a trap for the Doctor to be like, lure him in with the memory of his granddaughter, lure him in with the anagram, lure him in with all of that, and then go, it's me, as soon as I saw the Susan Triad thing being lowered down to Sue Tech, I was like, oh my god, we got it. We got it right. I can't believe it. We absolutely 100% got it spot on. I can't believe it. I can't believe how well the build-up was done for this episode. It's absolutely incredible. I'm struggling to articulate it to words how well I thought this episode was done. It's absolutely incredible how this episode was done. The pacing, the atmosphere, the drama, the direction. It's one of the best cliffhangers I think New Who has had. I need a rewatch immediately, or at least probably tomorrow now, given the time. Obviously, we get that line from the Doctor, time is memory, and memory is time. And then we also see the TARDIS in the memory of the Ruby's founding. And he sort of said, what is a time machine if it's remembered? So I'm assuming that will link to the remembered TARDIS that we see later on that's going to become pivotal in the fall of Sutekh somehow. But whew, this was absolutely incredible. I do wonder how it'll hold up on repeat viewings, because don't get me wrong, I was on the edge of my seat throughout that. And as soon as that anagram happens, like I say, chills, and the drum music and the chanting, I was, oh my god, they've actually done it. I was beaming from ear to ear, just watching it, just witnessing this old classic come back so well. I believe it's the same voice. It sounds like the same voice. I mean, that to be continued. So still in Earth Journey's End vibes. I've not felt that excited for, a cliffhanger since World Enough in Time. And even then, something about this particularly for me is just so exciting. Sutekh is someone I've wanted to see back forever. They've always been on the top of my lists. Sutekh is amazing, and to see him as the pinnacle, the peak of the gods, I love. I love it to death. I love the scene where Mel basically confronts the Doctor and basically says, stop your whining, get on with it, we've got stuff to do, worry about that later. I love the scene, as I said, I probably am repeating myself, where the Doctor and Kate talk about her dad, and then she says, well, why don't you go and see your granddaughter? And he says, well, if I ever go back, I could hurt her. Look at how dangerous my life is now. I can't get her involved in that. What if she gets hurt? What if she dies? I loved that. And the emotion that Shigeru brings at the thought of seeing Susan again feels real, and it feels genuine. And I hope that goes somewhere. If not in the next finale, in the next season, maybe. Because it feels like they're building that up. Obviously, this was a red herring by Sutekh to lure the Doctor in, but nonetheless, I thought it was incredibly well done. I am going to be curious to see how this holds up for casual viewers, for not we, essentially, the not Doctor Who fans, because I was sat here having the time of my life, just feasting on all the fan service, feasting on these bits about Susan, these bits about, Sutekh, these bits about all these different gods, and I'm like, oh my god, this is Doctor Who done on a cosmic scale, the likes of which we've never seen. But I do wonder, if I wasn't a fan of Sutekh, if I didn't know Pyramids of Mars, if I hadn't seen Pyramids of Mars, if I didn't know Sutekh that well, would it have had that impact? I think it does, because I think it's set up really well. I think the build-up within this episode, some people might say that prior to this, it's not set up that well. That's debatable for me. I think I'd have to wait till the full series is concluded to fully make judgments on that. But for me personally, I think the way it was set up in this episode makes it feel like it's a big deal, in the same way the Master feels like he's a big deal if you've never seen Doctor Who before in Series 3. I guess you could say that, oh, well, that's under the Time Lord, we have a frame of reference for that. We have a frame of reference for the gods as well in this new era. We have the Toymaker and the Maestro, and as he says, he is the king of them all. And I do wonder, that's another thing, I do wonder, how are they going to one-up that next series? Because you basically said, this is the devil. And I mean, Carla even says the beast, which I choose to believe is a reference to the beast from Series 2, who is also a version of the devil adjacent to Sutekh. I'm glad it is Sutekh, though, and not the beast, personally. Sutekh is the much cooler design, in my opinion, the much cooler concept. And I think, the Egyptology of it was realised beautifully with, that dog and all of that stuff. And the zombified, harbingers, when they get fully revealed, absolutely jaw-dropping stuff, just wonderful. I think this is an episode that is very much going to be dependent on how things are resolved. As it stands, I had an amazing time. Not been this hyped for a Doctor Who finale since Series 10. Probably one of my most favourite cliffhangers in Doctor Who history, personally, or at the very least the revival. Trying to think of everything else. Ruby's emotion at not seeing her mum is fantastic. I was hoping there'd be a bit more tension there. I'm still waiting on a bit of tension between the Doctor and the companion. Murray Gold absolutely smashes the music. There's a bit that feels a bit Master-esque, and I was getting a bit worried for a second, like, oh no, please don't let it just be the Master. But luckily it wasn't. They stuck to their guns, and it's Sutak, and I'm glad that if you're going to do one returning villain in this series, it's someone we haven't seen in years. You know what I mean? It's someone not new, but new to so many, and you know, they're so like old and they've not returned since, and they've been due to. And I'm so glad that it's this one, and I'm so glad it's being done in this way. And I just hope that the final episode has the breathing room to basically explore Sutak and the power he wields in its full potential. Obviously, we're going to have that Tales of the TARDIS episode. I wouldn't be surprised if some Pyramids of Mars stuff gets referenced in there, and maybe the Doctor and Ruby talk about the Pyramids of Mars, why the Doctor is so terrified of Sutak. Because remember, when he last met Sutak, he was terrified of him then, you know, because that is, you know, someone who literally, he says in the script of Pyramids of Mars, views the Doctor as nothing more than a prattling insect. You know, this is beyond a Toymaker, beyond Maestro. This is someone so powerful that they can, you know, destroy people with thought completely. It's just, oh, the build-up, the music, Murray, once again, absolutely smashing it. The direction, I'm not sure who directed this one, but they did a fantastic job. The lighting was fantastic. I really love the new unit base. I do like Morris. I do like that character. I will say Shirley Ann Bingham was missed for me personally. I do like her. But because I did also think, like, you're really letting a 13-year-old operate this time window, this highly sensitive bit of equipment. I know he's a super genius in the story, but even still, you'd think there'd be someone with it to make sure that, you know, it doesn't melt down. But nonetheless, I love the idea that, like, he expressly told them in the 70s, hey, don't steal my time technology and do stuff with it. And of course, they do exactly that anyway, because they're units, of course, they're going to. Yeah, I'm babbling, and I'm probably going to miss a thousand things. But I loved this. I won't lie, I absolutely adored this. The opening credits where he says, it's my granddaughter, credits. Instantly I was sold. Instantly I was like, yes, this is how you do a finale. This is the hype that I want. And it worked. And I just hope it's going to be down to whether it sticks the landing, I think. Because setup-wise, this is done very well. But setup is easy. Execution is everything. So I'm very excited to see what the execution of this is. Whew, I'm worn out. As I said, like, the Mrs. Flood reveal was really good. I knew as soon as she was up in the bedroom something was going to happen. And the fact that the mask just slips from that nice, weird old woman act as soon as Carla leaves to that, oh, that would be nice, dear, but you're not going to get anything. Like, very, very sort of snide, villainous sort of vibe. I loved that. I thought you end up feeling really bad for Susan because she's not really done anything. You know, she's just been put in this situation. And she just wants to live her life, but of course, her life isn't hers to live. She's been placed there. Mel was used really well, I thought. There's a really nice scene where she's comforting Carla and saying she will be safe with him. He helped me out when my family was, you know, gone. I thought that was lovely, and I thought that really did highlight the value of bringing back old characters, old companions into the new series. Having that perspective, I thought was wonderful. I do wish Mel had more to do. I think that would be one of my criticisms. Hopefully, you know, that's something that does happen in the finale. Same goes for Rose, to be honest. Like I know that sounds mean, but I feel like you could kind of take Rose out of it and not a lot would really change. Like, it was lovely getting the 14th Doctor referenced as her uncle. That's fun. And it was nice to see the Doctor address regeneration to Ruby when he says, oh, maybe Susan regenerated. That also confirms at least that Susan can regenerate, which is not something we were even necessarily sure could happen. Because we knew she's from Gallifrey, we didn't necessarily know whether she was a full-on Time Lord. Because if you know anything about Time Lord lore, you know that normal Gallifreyans can't regenerate. You have to become a Time Lord to be able to regenerate. So therefore, it's nice to see confirm, yes, she was a Time Lord. She can, in theory, at least, regenerate fully according to the Doctor. It's also kind of interesting the way he addresses the idea of having kids and not grandkids, implying that he hadn't necessarily had kids but did have a grandkid. And I know he says it's Time Lord, it's out of order. I wonder if that's a sly nod to Looms, maybe, but I don't know. That's something I did think when I was watching it. I'm just trying to remember everything. There's so many things that happened in that, and it's making my brain explode with all the possibilities. I'm hyped. I'm sold. This finale was incredible. All this build up to this finale. It's part one of the finale. Was incredible. I was on the edge of my seat. The build up, the tension, the atmosphere was incredible. He's back. Where he treads, he leaves nothing but dust and the darkness. Thank you all for watching. Also, I don't know whether I mentioned this, I'll mention it again. Lovely hearing a reference to the Trickster, where they're listing off all the gods. Maestro, god of music. Trickster, god of tricks and traps. Loved that. Maybe, Trickster in season 2, we can hope. But, yeah, lovely seeing Trickster be confirmed as a god as well, and part of this pantheon of gods. I love it. Sutek, the toy maker, Maestro, the Trickster. Like, what an army you're putting together, Russell. I love it, conceptually. I just hope it sticks the landing. That's the main thing. I do think, as I said, I think some of the other characters could have had a little bit more to do. I love what the Doctor was given. I love what Ncuti Gatwa was given. I love how he performed the idea of seeing Susan again. I just wish he was given, the rest of the cast was given a little bit more. I will say, I thought this was Kate Stewart's best outing in New Who. I've never been a massive Kate Stewart person, but having her react to that dead body and kind of shaking at the Doctor, being like, you let this happen. He was on my watch, and you're being here, you're asking us to do this, has resulted in his death. She doesn't say that, but it's written on her face. I think Kate Stewart was done incredibly well. Her reminiscing about, the Brigadier, having her sat on his lap, telling her stories about the Doctor all wide-eyed, I thought was lovely. I thought Kate Stewart really has been, improving for me this series. I thought it was interesting that obviously they reintroduced Ruby and Kate, and Ruby doesn't go, oh, I sort of think I've met you before. It's sort of implied that she remembers bits of 73 Yards. So I thought that was interesting. Maybe that'll get brought up in part 2. Makes me wonder if Ruby is a creation of Sutek, another trap for the Doctor. That's my current guess. That's why she doesn't have a DNA scan or a sample, and that he's basically designed Ruby to be the perfect trap for the Doctor, the perfect companion, which was kind of an idea I believe the Doctor Russell T Davies had for Rose, that she would be designed as the perfect companion in order to trap the Doctor. But in this case, using it for Ruby, I think would work, because it would also explain things like how quickly they've gotten along, and it would sort of give vibes of Clara as well, this mystery that just keeps pulling the Doctor back in. I think is a really, really cool idea. But that's everything I wanted to say. I probably missed something. What were your thoughts? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you for watching. I'm knackered. See you later. Goodbye.